Hey everyone, and welcome to WDIM Plus, where today I'll be looking into the third episode of the Dexter series New Blood, titled Smoke Signals. First off, I wanted to thank you for clicking on this video, and also a special thanks if you have been watching these videos each week. If you do enjoy this content, please remember you can do a lot to help support this small channel by hitting that like button and subscribing, which tells YouTube to put the video in front of more people. This chapter was a very clever episode that I think contained a lot of clues as to what is going on in this story. We continue to see Dexter struggle with his urges while cleaning up a mess that now has the entire town interested in his space. His son Harrison has proven to be an intriguing new character in his life and maybe a lot more than he seems. I have a crazy theory about Harrison that I will get into in a bit, but let me know in the comments right now if you have any theories about who Harrison is and why he has found Dexter. The episode begins with the search party still looking for Matt Caldwell all over Dexter's land, and Dexter still trying to figure out a way to get Matt's body out from under them. Dexter takes Harrison to meet with the school principal after Harrison takes up a conversation with Officer Logan, who also happens to be a coach on the high school wrestling team. In the 6th season premiere of Dexter, we saw him visit his high school reunion, and it did not appear that Dexter was a member of any sports teams and was known as a lab geek according to people there. I think one thing this episode makes a point to show is that there are a lot of differences between Dexter and Harrison, after making this not as evident in the last episode. Harrison showing interest in being part of a team is something that Dexter has lamented about, but has never been able to truly commit to. They go to the school to meet a woman named Principal Strode. I can't help but think that this woman's name is a nod to the infamous Survivor Girl character, Laurie Strode, from the Halloween movies. The series Dexter has a habit of making references to characters or authors in the realm of the macabre, and in fact I believe that this is not the only time the writers do this in this episode. The principal inquires about Harrison's past, and he has to cover for Dexter and say that Jim, Dexter's alter ego in this town, may not be fully aware of his situation. This is not the first time that Harrison has now covered for Dexter, but he does show later on that he is willing to use this against him as well. Harrison also meets Miss Silvera, who is there to administer his high school placement exam. He is able to speak Spanish to her, but to me it almost sounded forced and not natural, or not how you would expect someone to be able to speak a language they have been hearing and speaking for years. It may just be the actor and his own way of interpreting the lines, but it just didn't seem like he really knew how to speak the language. Even the phrase he says to her, "De donde eres," is like one of the first things you would learn in a class on how to speak Spanish. Dexter gets to the police station and learns that there are cameras located on the land around his house. Luckily, they are just infrared cameras that point to Matt being on the land and show another figure there that is unidentifiable. Kurt Caldwell, Matt's father, is also there and is frustrated with the situation. It seems that he does not have a lot of respect for Angela, but I think that most fathers who believe that their child is missing would be pretty on edge. The series is pointing to Kurt Caldwell being the big bad this season, but I think this is a red herring and that the other killer in town is someone else entirely. Dexter usually has more than one person on his table during the season, such as season 3 in which the Skinner was the serial killer that the department were chasing, but Miguel Prado, played by Jimmy Smits, turned out to be the one that was hardest for Dexter to stop. Back at school, Harrison finishes his placement exam and meets up with the kids he hung out with last episode. They show Harrison that they are catfishing another kid at school, which Harrison doesn't take lightly to. Back at his house, Dexter and Angela are discussing the case, and she says that she can't believe that she called off the search because of the evidence, which was what Dexter had planned for her to see. It's curious that Dexter does not realize that he is now hurting Angela as well because of what he is doing, because this obviously made her look bad. A new crime scene investigator shows up, which immediately piques Dexter's interest. Initially the man seems inept, but it's obvious once he starts working that he knows what he is doing. The CSI is able to recreate the crime scene almost exactly, and even picks out where the rock would have been that hit Matt's head, which Dexter got rid of last episode. He is able to classify the scene as foul play, and he takes a sample of Kurt's DNA to match the blood at the scene. If Kurt does turn out to be the other killer, this DNA sample could come back and be a big clue. Dexter is called to the school, where the principal accuses Harrison of cheating after he scored higher on the test than anyone ever has. Harrison gets upset when Dexter does not immediately believe him, and even brings up his false name Jim in the conversation, showing that he may use Dexter's real identity against him if he needs to. I think the scene is another example of how Harrison is different than Dexter. One of the most defining characteristics of Dexter's persona is that he wants to blend in and not cause any attention to himself. Even if Dexter knew every answer on a test, he would purposely get some wrong just so that he would not get noticed. But Harrison seems proud that he scored so highly on the test, and later in the episode boasts that he even got a higher score when he retook it under supervision. Harrison does not seem like someone who wants to blend in as much as he wants to be noticed, and he even does a few other things throughout the episode to get himself noticed. Back at Dexter's house, Angela tells him that search dogs will be coming the next day. Deb appears and reminds him of how severe the situation could be with Matt still being on the property. Just like when the ghost of Harry would appear, Deborah seems to show up at points of extreme stress for Dexter, which, as I have mentioned in prior videos, is a sign of how unstable Dexter really is at this point. Dexter digs up Matt's body, but only takes his jacket in order to throw off the dog's scent. Dexter has been throwing off the scent of the police for years before this, so this here was just a literal representation of the many false clues he has left in the past. Next, we see the girl who was in prison last episode be released, while the song Runaway by Del Shannon plays. Using music that has meaning to the scene is what we have seen serial killers do before, such as Arthur Mitchell, who is also known as the Trinity Killer, playing the song Venus by Frankie Avalon before performing one of his rituals. This song is about a man who has lost his female companion that he refers to as his runaway, and we know that there are missing runaway teenagers in the area. The girl that is in this scene also seems to be a runaway, and this may be the target of this killer because of some kind of link to this song, as Arthur Mitchell would listen to Venus to remember his sister Vera. We can also see that this killer is reading books by Clyde Phillips, who is the creator of the Dexter television series as well as this series New Blood. The actual man who created Dexter is an author named Jeff Lindsay, and this is similar to the name that Dexter is using in Iron Lake as an alias. We are meant to believe that this is Kurt Caldwell doing this to this girl, but I honestly think that instead it is Edward Olsen, the billionaire who we see later in the episode. The scene does a good job at not letting the viewer get a perspective of the shooter's height, which would make sense since Clancy Brown is 6'3", and the actor playing Edward Olsen, Frederick Linnae, is 5'9", which is a considerable difference that would not be unnoticed. Another interesting part of this scene is that I believe the gun he is using is a Remington 700, which is the type of gun that Officer Logan has Dexter identify later in the episode, and he states that it is so common to have that over 100 people in this town alone have one. The police dogs arrive in the morning, as does true crime podcaster Molly, played by Jamie Chung. The false scent trail seems to work, and Deb and Dexter discuss where to hide Matt's body once he gets a chance to move it. One of the ideas that Deb has is to use a cemetery, and in the third season of Dexter, he told Miguel that he disposed of bodies by burying them in fresh graves that would be covered the next day. Deborah also throws out the idea of using a wood chipper, which Dexter believes is a little too like Fargo, referencing the infamous scene from that movie which also took place in an icy town. Speaking of icy, we see the girl who was shot earlier being embalmed on a table while the song All I Have to Do Is Dream by the Everly Brothers plays. This is a song about a man who loves someone that does not feel the same back, and could be another clue as to the motives of this killer. Perhaps someone left him and ran away when he was young, which caused him to live out these scenarios where he traps, hunts, and kills women. Angela has a tense conversation with an indigenous woman where a girl named Iris is once again referenced, who was a runaway. It is believed that this is the same girl shown in the picture with a younger Angela, and it sounds like she may have been Angela's younger sister. She could be the woman who started this cycle with the serial killer that is killing runaways, if someone who was at the camp became obsessed with her and she tried to leave to get away from them. Harrison befriends Ethan after he's being picked on at school and helps him get back at the kids that were bullying him. While Dexter has shown a tendency to stand up for people, such as when he protected Astor's friend Olivia in season 5 after he learned that she was being abused by her mom's boyfriend, I think that Harrison sitting down with Ethan and showing everyone that he would rather sit with him puts attention on himself. Standing out from the crowd and dismissing the popular kids is another thing that Dexter would not do, as he would rather be part of a crowd so that he's not get noticed. Even when Dexter assaulted Dokes, he did so in his own office and then had Dokes attack him, but Harrison is fine with choking Zach in front of everyone, again drawing attention to himself. At times, Dexter did see himself as a vigilante, which could be a trait that Harrison has, but I think that there is some evidence piling up that Harrison is not who he says he is. While they are driving, Audrey's car breaks down on the side of the road, and Harrison goes to call someone. While there, she is greeted by Edward Olsen, who offers to help. She declines because of him being a climate change denier, among other things, and he drives off while being vaguely sinister. When he arrives, he is listening to the song My Heart Can Feel the Pain by the Tonettes, which is another song about unrequited love. It was released in the early 1960s, which is around the same time as the other two songs heard this episode, which may be another sign that this man is the one killing girls in the area. After Dexter is almost mauled by a bear, which I think may be a metaphor that there are other predators besides him in the area, he goes to dinner with Angela and the kids. There, Molly Park, the true crime podcaster, gets brought up, and Harrison asks Audrey if she is into true crime. True crime movies, series, and podcasts have gained a lot of popularity in the past 5 or 10 years, so it makes a lot of sense that one would be involved in the story. But my crazy Harrison theory is that I think it is possible that he is not actually Harrison, and is instead someone who is obsessed with Dexter and his story. He does know a lot about Hannah and Harrison's past, but everything seems to be stuff that you could learn on the internet, or if you were hunting down a true crime story. It is possible that this person found the note that he gave to Dexter addressed to Hannah, and started to build a personality for himself from this in order to insert himself into Dexter's life. Given that Dexter found Harrison in his house, he may have not even planned to be Harrison, but freaked out when Dexter found him there. It is possible that this is someone that the real Harrison met while in the foster care system and took over his life because of his obsession with him. The ice truck killer created an entire new personality to insert himself into Dexter's life, so this would be a cool callback to the first season and first book of Dexter's legacy. The episode ends with the Seneca people burning the deer in a bonfire, which gives Dexter the idea of how to get rid of Matt. After he is done, he runs into Kurt, who surprisingly states that he has seen his son and knows that he is alive. Dexter knows that this is not true, as Matt's ashes fall on his truck around them. This is a really bizarre turn, and I don't have any idea why Kurt would lie or how he would have seen his son. It's a great way to end though, and it gets me anxious for the next episode. Well, that was everything I saw this week, but let me know in the comments if I missed anything, or if you have any theories. Thank you very much for watching this video. Please hit that like button if you have enjoyed it, and I will see you next time on What Did I Miss?